Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome to Modern Medieval, the podcast. I'm Meaghan.
And I'm Elo, and this week we'll be speaking about St. Patrick.
Woo woo! Because yes, St. Patrick's Day is upon us. It's on a Wednesday this year.
Yeah.
And we just thought that it's a quite social, holiday, air quotes. People around the world kind of know about St. Patrick's Day. In America, like Chicago and Boston dye the rivers green.
Really?
Because of their Irish communities, yeah.
How do you dye a river green?
I'm not really sure exactly what they do. I mean, it's not environmentally dangerous from what I'm aware, but it is green for quite some time.
Wow.
But they do big parades and it's quite exciting.
Yeah. That's really cool. Have you been on those occasions, or is it just from your knowledge of
it's just from news? I have been to Ireland, to Dublin on St. Patrick's Day, because another reason we're doing this episode is because my birthday is St. Patrick's Day.
Woo!
Woo! So I always joke with friends, and now especially that of drinking age and have been, that they have to hang out with me on my birthday because it's a social drinking holiday. So like this year, because St. Patrick's Day is on a Wednesday, if we weren't in a pandemic, I would have made my like local friends have to go to, a bar or a pub and have like just one drink, but just for the principle of the thing, I feel.
Yeah.
So I do have a few friends that I'm going to Zoom with. I was like, I know it's a Wednesday and we're all doing PhDs, but we have to have one drink.
Yeah.
It's my birthday, just to cheers. And then
I wonder if like kind of like a fatalistic thing, like that because you're born on St. Patrick's Day, that's where part of your love for saints is born.
Perhaps. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, when I turned 25, my friend Nicole came from California to visit because I was living in Edinburgh at the time. And her birthday is March 10th. So we're a week apart. So she came for both our birthdays, and we did London for her birthday. And then we went to Dublin, Ireland for my birthday.
Lovely.
And Dublin on St. Patrick's Day is interesting because there are just a lot of tourists like us being like, I'm in Dublin on St. Patrick's Day. And we did on this, I think it was the 16th, the day before, we went to the Guinness factory, which at first I was like, I'd rather do Jameson, blah, blah, blah. And I had such a fucking blast at the Guinness factory. It was so magical and so fun.
Yeah.
And then on my birthday, we both actually were too hungover to get up in time to go to the parade. So I still missed. So we just saw the aftermath of the St. Patrick's Day parade. But it's a bit like New Orleans in a way where all the pubs are just open from the morning and people are just drinking and celebrating, because St. Patrick's Day is considered a holy day of obligation. So a church holiday where you're not supposed to work or do things. Like you have to go to mass.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day is
fun.
Fun, exactly. So I think that's also kind of why it's become this big festive associated, at least in my growing up. I don't know for you if you have similar experiences or...
I mean, I've only ever seen it in films and stuff because I was too little. My parents don't celebrate. So, but I obviously know about it and think it's quite a cool celebration, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's not something that's celebrated in Italy, like at all, really?
Well, now it is, but I don't know if it's like super as prominent as it is in like the English-speaking world. Because I feel like, we have a lot of other saints to celebrate as well. So it's not something that I've seen loads of.
Okay.
Especially if you're not of drinking age, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I was just curious because in kind of reading up and brushing up on my St. Patrick knowledge, he is considered like a equal to the apostles saint. So in the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. So I was just curious because...
I mean, I think with like patron saints and everything, a lot of the celebrations are more centered around that. in like little cities and stuff. So I don't know if, I mean, not it's not celebrated in the way that you commonly see it here in the UK, if that
Okay,
makes
so
sense.
yeah, it might be more of a actual kind of solemn
Yeah.
day because, of course, Saint Patrick is also the patron saint of Ireland. So there's like a double
Yeah.
whammy there of Saints Day, but
Yeah.
also Patron Saints Day.
I found it quite interesting because I thought that obviously because he's the patron saint of Ireland that he was born in Ireland, but actually I read up that he's not. He was born
Mm-mm.
in the UK. That's
Yeah,
quite interesting to me.
so he was born to like Anglo-Norman Roman family, and when he was 16, he was kidnapped by Irish pirates and taken as a slave to Ireland and
Yeah.
forced to be a field hand. Then there are differing accounts of he did do like herdsman things, but
Mm.
different stories will be like, no, he worked with the pigs, others just livestock in general. But yeah, it was during the 6 years of being enslaved and having to do this really hard labor that his faith was awoken and he started, really becoming quite devout and the beginning of his, communication or spiritual visions and dreams.
Right.
And then, yeah, he escaped 6 years after his being captured and, took a ship back to England and was trying to get home. And from some accounts I've read, he was captured a second time, but just briefly
Yeah.
before getting back home. But at that point, his faith had reached such a level that he actually went to France and attended school there to become a priest.
Mm.
And then
Was
his,
that common, do you know? Like to move far away?
I think just because, so we're talking for, we should give a timeline for this. So St. Patrick is a 5th century
Yeah.
saint. He actually hasn't been canonized formally because he lived at a time prior to the
Yeah.
saint canonization doctrination process.
Yeah.
Uh, so he's kind of in that era of, like Saint Columba um, and like Augustine, these people that are acknowledged as saints and like they are saints, but because they lived at a time where the necessary, I don't know, facts and miracles, etc., to be a saint didn't exist, so they
Right.
can't be officially indoctrinated.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay, I was like, I feel like I'm just talking in a
No,
circle.
no, 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 it makes sense.
But yeah, so there's like a bit of debate on exactly when in the 5th century he lived, when he went back to Ireland for his Christianization mission, when he died.
Yeah.
But at this time, the continent, Europe, was becoming more and more Christianized. And I believe that at this time, France slash, Gaul was a major epicenter for religion. But I don't know how common because it does take funds and time and effort to get there. The process of like if you had to go to the continent to
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
be ordained into the priesthood and receive your tonsure, which is the monk
I was
bald
quite a
head
hat that
shaving.
like
But yeah, so St. Patrick, his myths or legends are that, he drove the snakes out of Ireland, which,
kind of impressive.
so yeah, that's like a myth that was really interesting because there is like a two Patrick theory in regard to St. Patrick, where some of his stories are conflated with those of Palladius,
Yeah.
who was in fact sent by Pope Celestine the First
Yeah.
to go to Ireland and indoctrinate the
Yeah.
quote unquote heathen or pagan Irish people to the one and only faith, because that's how they thought of it.
That's how it is.
And Palladius went in 431.
Yeah.
So a lot of patrician, those are of Patrick, like historians and hagiographers are like, well, St. Patrick went in 432. So all the like conversion is actually due to Patrick, not Palladius. He didn't really do much. I love these kind of things in history because they don't know when he went. So that's like a date where they're like, that's when he did it. But in some accounts, Palladius is known as Patrick.
Yeah.
So there is that like two Patrick, which one did which. And Palladius has been said to have done the snakes.
Mm.
And then that myth being attributed to Patrick, from my understanding, St. Patrick, not Palladius, but didn't really come around until like 7th century hagiography, so quite a bit later.
Yeah.
And since actually there have been articles by scientists like archaeological botanists,
right?
That they're like, well, snakes actually haven't been in Ireland since the last ice age, so it's actually just like a biological thing. They weren't there. There were never snakes in Ireland during this time, which I always just get tickled because, at least for me growing up, St. Patrick and snakes is like, that's the legend, more so than the clover allegory, which a lot of people are like, this is the more famous one. I was like, I didn't know about this until I started actually reading about St. Patrick. I don't know, like, again, Ella, with your like knowledge, if it was more the snakes and St. Patrick, or if you knew of the allegory of the clover.
I knew about
the shamrock.
Snakes.
Okay.
I knew about the snakes. I didn't know much about, but then again, my knowledge of saints is very limited. So it's more like popular culture, what you would have heard, more than like actually like a vetted interest, especially growing up.
Yeah. And I mean, St. Patrick, up until I entered college, was all popular culture. Like, green, St. Patrick is Ireland. Don't know when, but that's who he is and what he does.
Yeah, or like the what are they called? The little stems with 4 leaves.
4-leaf clover.
4-leaf clovers, yeah. Those were a big thing, especially at Easter. My mom would be like, you have to get one. And so we'd like be on the grass trying to find one.
Yeah, the good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's just, he's a really interesting case of, the pop culture kind of understanding of him.
Yeah.
And how the myth or the legend supersedes the actual figure themselves, like has become larger than. Because the banishing of the snakes, because they're the devil, they're evil, they're slither.
Yeah.
The shamrock as an illustrative parable is the idea. So shamrocks, which are the national flower of Ireland, so the 3 heart-shaped leaves that represent in this parable the doctrine of the Holy Trinity. So Father, Son, Holy Ghost are each of the different leaves, petals. I don't really know what you would call them, because I always think of it more of a shrubby kind of plant rather than a flower, but it is a national flower. Anyways, the 3 leaves join together in the stem to create a whole, to create one. Yeah. So Patrick, he was very humble, very accessible, would use this, every day across the fields image to illustrate
the Trinity. Yeah.
The Trinity. And 3 around the world is like significant to numerous deities, including the Druid faith that was in Ireland, the dominant,
Right. So it actually worked quite well.
Yeah, so it's one of those things of like, oh, it's understandable and it does cross over. Always like interesting. And then apparently there's also other legends around him that I didn't really know of, where he like his walking stick grows into a living tree. And so that's interesting. It's
quite interesting that they're like very much nature bound.
Yeah, a lot of the early saints are also very of the earth, like birds and water, and
because I guess it's easier to see and not see, like from what you can see something else or read through that allegory.
Yeah, that, as well as, I mean, especially in the case of the British Isles and Ireland, the Druids were like earthbound deities. So I think I don't know, this is just kind of a hypothesis on my part. I really don't have the knowledge to back it up, but related to that and this kind of symbiosis of the two together. But there's also like St. Patrick's crosses that are kind of shown in pop culture, which if you like Google it, you'll see it and go like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. It's like the equal kind of, it's like an equal sided cross
Mm.
and have been used as like the Order of St. Patrick elsewhere and everything. And I mean, one of the most famous kind of modern tributes to St. Patrick is St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City.
Oh, I've been.
Yeah, it's like the big cathedral you go to in New
It's
York City.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's stunning. I agree. Like truly super gothic in its appearance. Yeah, so that's like one where you're like, oh, this is all the same person. Because I find myself with like studying saints, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this building I've been to or this school that I attended is all related to this one person.
Yeah. I was actually baptized in New York, and I'm wondering where.
Oh yeah, you should ask your family. It'd be cool if
Yeah.
you were baptized at St. Patrick's. I mean, really, any that's cool just in general.
Yeah.
And I mean, St. Patrick's Cathedral is neo-Gothic. It was 1858 to 1878. It's in, I mean, I think it shows up in like Sex and the City and stuff. Like
Yeah, I think it does. But I mean, it was quite like, I think it was quite an impressive place to go when I went. I think I was very struck by it.
When Nick and I were in New York, we went to St. Patrick's and we were both very awed by it because it just had these just like huge arches. We didn't get to go into like the cathedral proper. Like we were kind of stuck in the gift shop area because I think mass was going on when we were there.
Oh,
And
that's a bit of a shame.
It's a bit of a shame, but I also really do love being in a church when it's being used for the function it was created for. There is something quite spiritual or magical in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was also like, I want to walk around.
Fair.
So yeah, St. Patrick's Day, you know, he's really, again, this is like a pop culture kind of figure where it's like, oh, he's celebrated and important to Ireland because he is considered more than Palladius or other figures to have been the person who converted Ireland to Christianity.
Yeah.
By going from, you know, the different like regional kings or rulers down to the peasants speaking the word of Christ. He was there on his own. He wasn't officially sent by the church. So he lived in constant fear of martyrdom. He was beaten up more than once and like kicked out of towns. So I do think there's something kind of
underdog.
Yeah, like a simple beauty in that where it's like, but he persevered.
Yeah.
And try to indoctrinate or share this word by not being aggressive.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, the Catholic Church
has always done, unfortunately.
Yeah, over time they changed their tactics to a much more aggressive form.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting as well because he was doing this of his own accord, so
right, like he was doing it for the church, like the idea of the mother church. But yeah, he wasn't sent by the Pope. He wasn't. He was just following his vision, his dream. That was Jesus told him to do this, and so I do think it's kind of one of those also really lovely holidays if you think of it in that way.
Yeah. Where true faith can actually,
like the power of one person, to be memorialized, I guess. And then, of course, I'm also just like, man, it's my birthday.
It's quite a lovely saint to have associated with your birthday, though.
Yes, I am glad that he's
it's him and not someone kind of horrible and violent and like.
I definitely agree. Very he's rather uncontentious.
So I guess my question is, do you like green?
I do like green, and I have in the past few years always made a point to like wear something green on St. Patrick's Day. I remember as a child growing up, it was like if you don't wear green on St. Patrick's Day, you get pinched.
Children are awful. Oh my goodness.
Luckily, so the school I went to, Chandler, our school mascot was a shamrock. We were the Chandler Shamrocks. Okay. So our school colors were navy blue and Kelly green.
So you were covered.
Yeah, I mean, this green, let me tell you, so the dresses we wore, like the uniform dresses, we called jumpers. So it's a
Oh,
little
okay.
confusing in the UK to try to explain it because I think they just called them uniform dresses here. And I'm like, no, we called them jumpers, but a jumper's a sweater here. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, electric green. Maybe not electric because you'll think more like rave bright green, but I mean, just like crayon green, but like a brighter green, not a forest green. So it's either like
Oh,
that color of the dress
yeah.
or navy blue.
Oh, okay. That's quite nice.
But the girls were always kind of on St. Patrick's Day safe because we had to wear these like mesh kind of basketball shorts underneath the skirts just because
Yeah.
propriety. But we also used them for PE, but those were a dark forest green.
Oh,
So,
nice. I love dark green.
so girls were always safe, but the boys could wear khaki pants or shorts with either a
Right.
navy blue polo or a forest green polo. But when we were in elementary school, I don't think the boys were allowed to wear green shirts at the time.
What?
Because like as you got older, like you were so once you
Mm.
hit middle school, so year 6, girls were able to wear like khaki skirts and start wearing khaki pants
Mm.
and shorts as well as polos. But up before that, you weren't allowed to, from what I recall, you had to wear
Yeah.
the dress. They may have changed it since, but
I mean, it sounds like they probably would
maybe.
have, right? Like it's one of those things.
But in either way, if the boys were wearing their navy blue shirts with the khaki pants, like they weren't wearing green, so it was always like, "I'm gonna pinch you because you're not in green," and they would use like marker, and be like, "I'm in green," and you're like, "But that's not clothing." And so like kids being kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, luckily I have a green dress and I have this like sparkly green shirt that I wear
Oh, that's so nice.
to
I love it.
celebrate.
Love it.
Um, so yes, I will be wearing green. I will be representing the holiday.
I'll wear green eyeshadow in your honor.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I'll look interesting when I go into work with all the children on
Oh, I'm sure they'll
Wednesday.
really like it though. They'll be like, "Yeah, it's Miss Allen."
Yeah, I'm curious if any of them will like somehow dress up in
Mm,
any way, or if it's just like, it's just another day. We're in a
yeah,
pandemic,
yeah. To be fair,
which is beyond fair. But yeah, and also just now as an adult, it's always fun going to like pubs and stuff because if it's my birthday and I tell people I get like a free drink
yeah,
or
fair.
free food, and it's not because I'm a young woman, it's just like it's your birthday, you get something for free, which I'm all for. And I've gone to places and they've given me like crowns and like sparkling badges because if you go to pubs sometimes people are like go hardcore and they're in like
Mm.
light up pins and all kinds of crazy shit. And so I've definitely been bequeathed with like light up shamrock
That's so
singing
nice.
badges and stuff.
Oh, dude, I feel like you've got a good birthday day.
Yeah, I
Hopefully, you have
agree.
good birthday day celebrations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's always kind of nice also because if there's like a parade, it's like, oh, it's a parade for my birthday.
That's really cool.
Because I'm not a huge birthday person, but it is fun to kind of ironically be like, well, it's a holiday, so you have to socialize and you have to do something.
Yeah. I mean, it's also easier when it's not your doing, if that makes sense. Like, you may not want to make a big deal out of your birthday, but if the world is making a big deal of it, you can just enjoy it. How sociable you
Exactly.
want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's, a very brief kind of little St. Patrick gloss, but we
Yeah.
wish you all a happy St. Patrick's Day. Hopefully, you enjoyed and learned something.
If you've enjoyed this episode and want to listen to more, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Amazon, just by typing Modern Medieval Podcast. You can also find us on social media if you want to actually interact with us. On Facebook, we've got a group and a page, just type Modern Medieval Podcast. On Instagram, you can find us by typing podcast.modern.medieval. If you want to email us, you can email us at modern.medieval.podcast@gmail.com. And finally,
Twitter.
yes.
Yes. And on Twitter, you can find us under the handle at medieval_modern. Feel free to tweet at us, tag us, all those things. And our jingle, I forgot to say this last week, but our jingle is by the one and only Joe Burton, who goes by the name Trothgard, Trothgard. You can find him on Bandcamp and YouTube.
We love him.
Yes, we're so appreciative for our little music introduction. Yeah. So until next time, I'm Meaghan.
And I'm Ello, and this is Modern Medieval, the podcast.